But
Welcome, Raiders.
I'm still in.
Just updating the stream information.
I have to end my stream now. And I have raided. Woohoo!
Excellent. You have indeed, right. Welcome,
Yes.
Raiders. I'm Robert from the El Magnifico Games channel, and we're going to continue our playthrough of Bloodborne today. As you can see, I'm quite a ways into the DLC now. This is my first playthrough. Oh, thank you so much for the follow, Te Apogee. I do appreciate it.
Yay! Alright, I'm gonna get out of your voice thing here.
You can stay if
See
you
you
want
later.
for extra commentary.
No. Go that way. Go left. Go right. You don't want
Duck! Hurry!
that. Alright, I'm leaving the party.
Okay.
I'll be in chat later. Bye-bye.
I'll look forward to it. See you then. What was I saying? Yeah, so we're continuing with Bloodborne. I'm quite a way into the DLC. This is my first playthrough, so I don't actually know what's up ahead. I strongly suspect I've got a boss fight ahead of me. But yeah, I've only just recently arrived at this particular area, so let's get into it. Thank you for the raid, Pikachu. I do appreciate it. We were attacked as we went along this bridge at the end of last stream, but we've dispatched the individuals, so that's why I'm not being attacked right now. But yeah, I didn't get very far into exploring this place, so for example, this area is new to me. I think I poked my head round this doorway at the end of last stream, and that's as far as I got. Still says streaming together. That's interesting. Presumably that's not a problem though. Presumably it correctly says that I'm playing Bloodborne and everything. I don't know how I would turn that off. Okay, they fell down and are no longer a problem for us. Okay. No more. Ow. Uh-oh. Thank you for streaming with me, Pikachu. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. So how's everyone doing? What is that? Oh, old Nautilus shells. How? Who did that and how? You did that with some sort of magic staff. I entered my stream, so I don't know why it's saying otherwise. I think Twitch sometimes takes a while to catch up. I'm not sure from Twitch's perspective whether it can even tell the difference between a stream ending and a user disconnecting unexpectedly. It's possible it can tell the difference, but I'm not sure it can. That was a lot of blood vials. Is this going back to the area we just were? No. Hang on, someone's following me. Some people are following me. Oh, dearie me. And I'm dead. Oh, but that is a shortcut back to the lamp. So that's not so bad. Got to raid and run, but I'll be back. Okie doke, Pikachu. No dying. Well, about that. Watch me, says Tato. No, Tato. Be right back. Which way am I going? This way. There's my blood echoes. So that didn't set us back very far. Or have much consequence at all. Here they come. Ow! How did you hit me out here? There we go. I survived this time. Hello, Grumpy Monk. How are you doing today? How have you been? Wondrous hidden path, therefore time for hunting. It's been a little while, hasn't it? Or am I misremembering? I think I'm protected by the lightning right now from the roof over my head. Right, that one over there is a problem. Good. Right, I'm tempted to go... Okay. I'll have to come back for that item. I'm tempted to backtrack a little and kill the enemies that I killed last time, just because I'm not sure whether they're going to cause me a problem or not. Like, if I go ahead, is there a danger that the ones back here that have respawned because I died, is there a danger that they attack me from above or something? Possibly not, but if I take them out, we can be sure that they don't. I'm doing good, thank you. What about you? I'm surviving. Getting by. Oh, yeah. I meant to say this earlier. Happy Pride Month, everybody, and happy Men's Mental Health Month, because it's both. June is both. Uh-oh. As some of you may be aware, I don't have the best mental health, so I don't know. I felt like I should say or do something for the Men's Mental Health Month, but I haven't. I have nothing prepared. But I'm aware that it is. I saw what you wrote on Discord, and it sounds interesting. Excellent. Hopefully at some point we'll get a chance to discuss that. Mental health is a lie created by therapists to sell more therapy. Wow. This is a problem. As somebody that's currently suffering from PTSD and depression, having been someone that wasn't in the past, I'm not sure I can fully support that, but I do think there might be something in therapists over-promising. I've been in counselling now for quite a few months, and although I do feel like I've gained some additional insight into the problems that, well, how would I phrase this? I feel like I've gained some additional insight around the problems I'm having. I'm still suffering from them just as much as I was before. I haven't improved at all, as far as I can tell. Which I find very frustrating. But we'll have to see. The particular course I'm on at the moment is going to... the particular course of treatment I'm on is going to time out in a few weeks. And then I just get dumped, as far as I can tell. So I'm probably going to have to look into new providers, I'm going to have to try and find a new provider for counselling or some other treatment, possibly cognitive behavioural therapy. I'm not sure. But yeah, while I'm not sure I would go as far as to say that mental health is a lie, I do appreciate that there are certain people that have a vested interest in selling you a particular image of mental health, which may or may not be accurate. As my dad would say, just get over it. Yeah, well, I tried that for several months. Just trying to deal with it on my own, and I couldn't. That's when I finally ended up seeking help. Hi everyone, how's it going? It's going alright. Lovely to see you, Matt Timber. It's, as well as being Pride Month, it's also Men's Mental Health Month, and I was just answering some questions and discussing things about my own mental health, which anyone's welcome to ask me questions about, both this month and in general. Obviously, I may not be prepared to answer every single question, but I will, for various reasons, but I will generally be as open as I reasonably can be. I've never really had any mental problems, but in my family there are some close people who have. I see. In general, I haven't, but there were 2 periods in my life when I have, and one of them is right now. It's very frustrating, because I do want to just get over it, as Tato quoted his father as saying. I would really like to do that, but as I say, after many months of trying, it just doesn't seem to work that way. Then again, as I say, I don't feel like counselling has really been doing it either, so I don't know. I'm still rather stuck at this time. It is funny, I was talking to someone the other day about how... In fact, this was on the Discord server. I was saying about how I sometimes get a sort of imposter syndrome when it comes to my own mental health, and I just get this sense of like, well, this is just in my head. Why don't I just choose to stop thinking about it? Because that's what I'd like, and it just doesn't seem to work that way. That's... When you're dealing with something... Obviously I can't speak to all... I can't generalise to all mental health conditions, but when you're dealing with something like the PTSD symptoms I have, you have triggers and aversions. You have... you are constantly being reminded of what's going on here. Of really quite painful things, whether you like it or not. You can't, and nightmares. You can't just choose to not be subject to that. Try beer and gambling. This is not legal advice. Looking in route and fuel. Got to take off for a bit. Okie doke, Jake Shuffle. You take care. Oh, we should give Jake Shuffle a shout out. He's a lovely streamer. There we go. Consider giving Jake a follow. If you haven't already. Bloodied trousers. Lead elixir. I have noticed that they call trousers in this game instead of the American pants. In British English, pants means underwear. And I appreciate that's because a lot of this game was loosely based on Victorian London. I don't know. It's the thing I note about that though is that implies that that trousers is at least a term that most Americans would recognise. Because I wouldn't have thought they'd have put it into the game if that term wasn't recognised at all. Could be wrong. Oh yeah, if you had any more questions about my mental health or my autism, which they're not exactly the same, but they're also not completely unconnected either. By all means, feel free to ask. Is that everything here? I feel like there should be more. Yeah, there's definitely more. Look at that enemy waiting to jump down on us. In fact, two of them. There must be another way down there that I haven't seen yet. Yep, they've already been slain. Just checking that. Beware of the unseen. An interesting warning. I'll put some mental health memes in Discord. Thank you, Tato. I've never really understood how mental problems work, being a person who is mostly positive all the time, but I support any who has it. That's fairly... It wasn't quite phrased as a question, but that's a very fair thing to say. Let me think about how I would respond to that. It wasn't necessarily a question. No, I appreciate that, but it's still a very good point that I feel would benefit from being addressed. So, I mean, I'm currently mostly suffering from PTSD and depression, which are different things, but they aren't. But they do feed into each other. The PTSD, I believe it was described by a certain medical practitioner as non-clinical PTSD, which means I believe that they accept that I have PTSD, but they consider it to be mild enough that they're not going to do anything about it, which is frankly very disappointing because it affects me on a daily basis. It makes just living a normal life quite a struggle. So I rather wish they would do something about it, but still. This all came about after a extremely painful series of events that took place. A series of events in which I was led to believe that I had behaved in a very terrible fashion. This is where it then links back to my autism, because I'm autistic, I struggle with social interactions. I will generally not understand social cues, or at least not all of them. Many times they'll go over the top of my head. I don't necessarily know how I'm supposed to act in social situations. It's what I think it is that essentially a lot of people naturally build up an instinct for how you're supposed to behave in social interactions, and I don't have that. I have to try and approach things logically as best I can, because that's all I have, my intellect. The problem is, it turns out there's all sorts of little social rules that are just... Everyone knows everyone that isn't autistic or has some other condition. They just know it instinctively, and these rules aren't spoken about, but it is just assumed that everyone knows them. And so if you break one of these rules, then people will just assume that you did it deliberately. Anyway, this makes... The reason this is relevant to my mental health is because it means that I cannot assess for myself very well how well or poorly I have behaved. I have to rely on other people to be honest with me. If someone tells me that I have done something terrible, then I will probably believe them, because I have no other way to really tell myself. And I'm dead. So, there was a sequence of events. Hang on, I'll wait for the game to quiet down. There was a sequence of events that were extremely painful for me. I was led to believe that I had behaved extremely poorly. Since then, I've had a lot of family and friends step in and tell me that no, there was more going on here. You weren't treated fairly. That what you've been told happened isn't really what was going on. And again, I just have to believe them with that. I can't really assess this for myself. But the long and the short of it was that I ended up traumatized, literally traumatized. I'm not banding that word around. I was severely depressed after what happened. This manifested itself in me primarily as, there are a whole bunch of symptoms. I generally I generally found it impossible to find joy in things that I used to do, and I still suffer from that to a degree now. There are other related symptoms that I'm about to get into. It's not... I believe it's called anhedonia. It's the... So things that used to make me happy, hobbies and just general things to do, I couldn't get any joy from them anymore. I developed... I was very sad a lot of the time. I had a lot of suicide ideation. These were all symptoms that I suffered from for several months after the events I just talked about. I also had a lot of, and still do have a lot of, anxiety and rejection dysphoria because of what had happened, because what I had thought was a very these events, as you've no doubt realised, involved certain other individuals. That situation in my mind had suddenly been turned on its head. I had gone from a place where I had thought these people, I could trust these people, and it turns out that I very much couldn't. And so now I'm, as I say, I have a lot of rejection dysphoria as well. On top of that, we've got the PTSD, which means that I am constantly being reminded of what happened. I'm often being triggered by sometimes physical objects that I see, which I associate with what happened. And these are some household everyday objects. Also words, even everyday words. There are certain words which I personally associate with what happened, and whenever I hear them, this triggers me. And the sensation of being triggered, it will vary depending upon how big of a trigger it is, which can depend upon a lot of factors. But it's clearly a fight or flight response, if that makes sense. It's oh boy. It's a very anxious thing. A mild trigger might just mean that like my stomach drops and I suddenly feel very anxious and uncomfortable when I wasn't before. A more severe trigger can bring on another depressive episode, in which case I might then find it very hard to just do things that, like, are very hard to get motivated, feeling very, very bad, suicide ideation might come back, that sort of thing. And I'm dead again. And again, it's everyday things that will trigger me and remind me of the events that took place. It's also nightmares. I've been kind of lucky in that I haven't had any nightmares in the last few weeks, I think. But for a long time after the events that took place, I was having nightmares about what had happened semi-regularly. Which would mean, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I would be very, very triggered. I'll be right back. Just got a call from my father, who also has autism, I see. Ooh, heavy topics. Hello, Tato. I wish I'd noticed that Grumpy Monk had left since I was answering. At least, I had initially been prompted by his comments, but still. Yeah. It's difficult. It's very, very difficult. Even though I believe I have reason to believe that I was, at least to some extent, used by the people involved, which wasn't my initial assessment, that I blamed myself completely initially. Even though, having spoken to a lot of other people, I've come to the conclusion that I was at least used to some extent, I still get a lot of guilt around it. I still get a lot of self-hatred. It's hard, and I'm dealing with this on a daily basis. Every day I'm getting triggered by one thing or another, and if it's a bad trigger, then it may be very hard for me to do anything during the day besides the bare minimum. Fortunately for me, because I'm so bound by routine with the autism and also a sense of obligation, which again I think is related to the autism. I very, very much do not want to be dishonest. Streaming is part of the bare minimum for me. Like, I've been able to keep this up when a lot of other things in my life have fallen away. Because if I tell you that I'm going to be live at a certain time, I am going to do everything in my power to make sure I am actually live at that time. And I think that's a good thing. I think streaming has, on the whole, been a good thing for my mental health. But yeah, it's difficult. I'm not going through a great time in my life at the moment. It has to be said. I'm not sure if it'll take time now, Magnifico. Thank you, Pikachu. I'm not sure if Grumpy Monkey's back or not. Possibly he didn't hear a lot of that. But, I don't know. Is that helpful to anyone? Does that help explain... Does that help you understand at least my relationship with mental health at this point? Obviously I can't speak for other people. I mean, I suppose to circle back to Grumpy Monk's original point, where he said it's very hard for him to understand as someone that's always been very positive in general, which I appreciate. It's a fair remark. Like, I can't just choose not to experience these things. I cannot choose not to get triggered. I cannot choose not to... It's physiological is what I'm getting at. Like, I can't stop my body from getting triggered when I hear certain words, and when I get triggered, it feels awful. We appreciate you sharing with us. Thank you, Pikachu. Anyway, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Ow. It's okay to be a little sociopath. Interesting remark, Tato. Do you mean it's okay to be a little bit sociopathic? Slap Tato, be nice. Like not caring when you are rude. I know I am. So part of the problem I have is by my nature, I do care a great deal about other people, even strangers. But I also, as I say, struggle with social interaction. I, despite my best efforts, I do not understand a lot of the rules about social interactions that other people just seem to know intuitively, and it's a problem because it means I do upset people when I don't mean to, and then I feel awful about it because I don't want to be like that. It's a terrible combination. It's a terrible combination to care, but to also be unable to do much about it. I mean, obviously, like I say, I do fight this with my intellect. I do try to understand the rules. I do try to improve. I do try to not repeat the same mistakes again. But it is very, very difficult when it doesn't come to you naturally. Especially when a lot of people just assume that you already understand and that they will impute intentions. They will see you act a certain way and they will just assume the worst. They will think, okay, this person did XYZ deliberately, knowing how rude it was or hurtful or how uncomfortable it would make me feel. And so then they, in their mind, try to construct some sort of explanation for why someone would do something like that deliberately, and then they will unswervingly believe that, and it doesn't matter what you say or do at that point. They've already put you into a little box in their head which says this is a bad person, and they will not hear otherwise. It's a problem, especially since you often, not only does it destroy potential relationships with other people that you could have, but it also often means that you don't then get the feedback that would be useful. Like, if I've done something to unintentionally hurt someone, I want them to tell me. I want them to explain so that I can improve. But very often, that doesn't happen. I do a lot of rude things many times, and I do realise I was rude, but I don't go out of my way to change it. I was rude, I know I was rude, deal with it. If a bridge is burnt, it's burnt. I just can't be like that. I just care too much, and I can't turn that off. I understand. I mean, I've read a lot of different autistic accounts since finding out I was autistic. For those that don't know, I was only diagnosed with autism this year. I've had autism my whole life, but it's not till this year that I was diagnosed, and it wasn't until the end of last year that I even suspected. But I've still suffered from the symptoms of autism my whole life, obviously, because, you know, this is something you're born with. Well, one does wonder to what extent upbringing plays a role, I suppose, but notionally you're born with it. We certainly know without a doubt there are genetic factors, and it is at least to some extent heritable. But the thing is, a common autistic experience, which I have also had, is that growing up, you're socially rejected a lot, and you don't understand why. You don't understand why people are treating you like that. You don't understand why other people seem to find social interaction easy, but when you do it, but you're constantly hated. You're constantly socially rejected, and that's what I think has led me to end up with this rejection sensitive dysphoria, where I'm hypersensitive to to signs of rejection. I anticipate rejection before there's any real reason to believe I have been, and I'm constantly looking for signs of it, and that's because I have been led to expect it over a lifetime. Mental illnesses don't exist in my country, but I did a whole lot of self-diagnosis, and I know I'm not autistic, but heavy ADHD, I see. Get your commands right. I'll command whatever I want. Puff. Puff? Huff and puff. As in Dragon Quest? Oh, I have some bad news. My computer restarted the other day and I lost the list of commands I was supposed to implement. Because I had it in a notepad document that I hadn't saved because I meant to do it like very, very soon, and then I never got round to it. Which is fine, I just need to make another list. Always make a list with a marker on hand. I'm trying to figure out what I'm actually doing here. Like, I seem to have cleared the lower area down here, and I've looted quite a bit, but there seems to be pretty much nothing here, which is confusing me. Hey Avon, lovely to see you. Oh goodness, it's a full-on raid. Thank you for the raid, Avon. How did your stream go? Was there no Twitch alert for the raid? There should have been a Twitch alert. I can see OBS is correctly set up with Twitch alerts. So, oh no, I'll tell you. I bet there was a Twitch alert because of the way my audio is set up. I can only hear the PlayStation right now. That'll be it. Thanks for the shout out. I think that was Pikachu, yeah it would have been, who was quick with the shout out. She's good that way. But you're very welcome to it. How are things? Yeah, I'm surviving, thank you for asking. So it's Pride Month, but it's also Men's Mental Health Month. And so I just ended up having quite a long conversation about my mental health, the issues I've been having, as well as autism, because even though autism itself isn't a mental health condition, as you can imagine, a lot of what I've been through is connected to the autism. And I've said that I'm happy to answer any questions people may have. Ain't no quick at hands, she can parry these shoutouts all day. What is that emote which gives you the... Oh, power up R, power up L. Oh, they're hands! Those are hands that are reaching out. For some reason, I've always interpreted... Well, I know that's a emote combination you use a lot, Pikachu. I'd always interpreted it as being like a rabbit holding out two like purple flaming swords or something. I've only just noticed. Their hands. Well, in Hollow Knight, I beat Traitor Lord, 2 boss rematches, and I'm currently in White Palace. I've attempted Path of Pain a few times. Oh, Path of Pain. Fun fact, Path of Pain is one of the things that I didn't do in the end. I attempted it a few times, but I never completed it. It's one of the... As I say, there's only like a handful of things in Hollow Knight I didn't finish, but all of them were brutally difficult, and Path of Pain was one of them. Sending virtual hugs. Thank you. I appreciate that. Power! I can do that too. I see. Very nice. Can I have a vague hint at this point? Is there anything more for me to be doing down here that I've consistently missed? Or have I basically seen everything? Is this area just for looting? Because I seem to have cleared this area and not found any way forwards. Which is fine if that's the way it's meant to be. But I'm not sure if I'm just being stupid. I'm blind. Potato. Path of Pain is so evil in the end. Oh my goodness. I only did the beginning of Path of Pain. I was told there are checkpoints along the way. I didn't reach the first checkpoint, so that should give you an idea of how far through I got. And it was so difficult already. Did you unlock the elevator? No! Okay, that sounds like something I should be doing. Should unlock a shortcut back to the house. Where is the house from here? That's the house, isn't it? So logically, the elevator would have to be accessed from like somewhere down there. I can already tell Path of Pain is going to be a problem, but I did beat the flower quest, so I'm slightly more confident than otherwise. Oh, the flower quest was one of my favourite quests in the entire game. I think part of that might have been because I was doing a lot of really difficult stuff, and like failing to do it. So what I mean is the flower quest is also one of the last things I did. I knew of several things I could still do. All of them were really difficult. I got stuck on them, like kept on like trying them over and over and dying. And then I did the flower quest, and I loved it because it was a quest where it actually awarded you for thinking your way through the problem, and it gave you a lot of leeway in how you wanted to do the quest. So it was a really enjoyable quest to do, because I could use my brain to solve it. And it was coming at a point when I was really frustrated with the game in general anyway. Hold on, I might go back to the house quickly and just see if I can figure this out the other way round, if you will. Like, find where the elevator is supposed to appear. Strategy is nice. It's down in the muck. Oh, okay. Isn't it all muck down there, though? Isn't this all muck? I think technically this is supposed to be flooding. Oh, I'm curious whether you've reached a certain place yet, Avon. But I don't want to spoil anything. So I'm trying to think how I would... phrase it. Muck with snails. Wait, wasn't that in a completely different area? I thought that was up the top. Hang on, I'll show you where I mean. Well, accessed via up the top might be more accurate. I take it you've already found the... I'm saying this because I really am confident you'd have found this already. I take it you've already found the arena where you can take on one of 3 different trials. Is that correct? Yeah, isn't that through here? The muck with the snails. Okay. Yep, I've done the first two. Right. So have you... So this is the thing where I don't want to spoil you too much. I'm curious. Have you found another location where you can... which is somewhat arena-like, but in a really unusual place? And if that's too much of a spoiler, do let me know. I'm trying to be mindful, but obviously people have different levels of tolerance with that sort of thing. Elaborate. I don't want to spoil you. There's... I consider every boss room an arena. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, have you found another place where you can do similar trials to that? Like gauntlets. But it's in a really unusual place. Pardon, forgot my manners. No, you're absolutely fine. Is that a Luigi emote? Yes, I did mean got home. So you have been there. Interesting. So what I was going to say is that's... So if, off the top of my head, the 3 things in the game that I didn't do was... there's the very end stuff in Godhome. The Path of Pain. And again, this might be a minor spoiler, and I apologise if it is. But there's some business with Troop Master Grimm that becomes available later on, which you may not have encountered yet. Again, I don't want to spoil anything. And if I have, do tell me if I've crossed the line. But off the top of my head, those are the only things I didn't do in Hollow Knight. Haven't beat a Pantheon yet, but I plan to. I don't know what Luigi has to do with me. Just found that today. Oh, I see. Just found Godhome today. Yeah, is this the place you meant, Pikachu, with all the snails? It is, okay. I find it interesting how El Magnifico Games often reads from newest to oldest messages instead of the other way round. Yeah, I shouldn't do that. It's just because... I think it's because... what usually happens is I'll play a bit of the game and then one person will comment, and then I'll play a bit of the game and one person will comment, or at least that's what I've been used to over the last 3 years. Perhaps since that isn't typical recently. But the point is, I'm used to starting by looking at the bottom. But then, of course, I'm going to read upwards to try and find the... I'm going to read upwards until I reach the point where there's a message I have read before. It's like a fun... It's a bit confusing, Foa. It's like a fun puzzle. Oh, I'm sorry. I've already been spoiled on most of the story, so I already know about Nightmare King. I'm not too worried about Hollow Knight spoilers, to be honest, since endgame spoilers are actually how I found out the game existed. Oh, okay. Yep, so... I didn't finish all the Pantheons. I finished quite a few of them, but then they just got absolutely silly, and I didn't stand a chance. I haven't beaten Nightmare King Grim. Again... He was just too hard. I couldn't do it. I tried. But I wasn't good enough. Path of Pain I also haven't done. Of the 3, I think Path of Pain is probably the one I would be most likely to be able to do. If I had just stuck at Path of Pain for a few streams, I suspect I would have managed it eventually. The other 2, I'm not so sure about. I think that I always talk about the fact that I have slow reactions and poor coordination, which is true. And I can make up for it up to a point by just practicing a lot. That's what I do with Dark Souls and Bloodborne. But, especially with the Pantheon, it was feeling like it was getting to the point where I physically wouldn't be able to make up for it just with practice. Like, it was just so far beyond me. But yeah, I believe that is everything I didn't do in Hollow Knight so far as I'm aware. I suppose it's always... I didn't look up spoilers. I suppose it's always possible I missed something. That's odd. It sounds like there's an enemy behind there. I bet if we make the chat go crazy, we'll have a hard time finding the context of an unhinged conversation. I'm pretty sure that's happened before. Nothing wrong with Luigi. Oh, thank you for giving Walltop... Oh, sorry, isn't that the entire point of chat? Lovely to see you, Walltop. I hope you're having a good day. I can tell 43 things wrong with Luigi. I'm going after him at some point. I need to upgrade Grimchild for the first time. Grimchild is cute. Nice dodge. Wait, me? Didn't I just eat that attack? Or was that an earlier dodge? Ow. Oh, are you complimenting my enemy? Have a nice lurk, Avon. Earlier dodge. That's why I have what I call the Central Yarnum Fun Run. If I get stuck on a boss, I start at the beginning, murder everything, and keep going through the entire game until I get to a point where I think I have enough blood echoes and go level up. Interesting. So you don't mean you restart the game, you just like go back to you go back to the clinic, Yoska's clinic. Ah, I could jump down there, but that seems like a terrible idea. That may be what I'm missing though. Still, Pikachu seemed to indicate there's some sort of shortcut that I've missed. Fun run! I also love cleaning up the streets. Yep. Right, I played Sekiro and completed it, then did New Game Plus run till the end, until the final boss, but didn't beat him, and I installed thinking it'd be a fun start when I return. Boy, was I wrong. So fun. So there's an elevator amongst the snails, is there? No, an elevator. Elevator that goes places. Reinstalling the game after months and facing final boss at first is no fun at all. No, in the dark. In the dark? Spooky elevator. Do you mean over here? Do I jump down here? Because if it's not down here, I may not be able to get back up. It is dark down there, though. Cave elevator. No! Yes. Pikachu! Yeah, absolutely inscrutable. Yes, yes! Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lurk. Oh, why did the lurk not work? Maybe? The hole. Oh, it is the hole. Sometimes? Inscrutable? Yes, I'm reading your comments. Maybe it's just the delay, but it must be the delay, I suppose. I'm reading your comments and it's... I'll like ask a question and that'll be no. Yes! And it's like... Which? Or comments like... Spooky elevator. Cave elevator. I do appreciate you helping me, by the way. I'm not trying to embarrass you or anything. Excellent. I've been called many things, but inscrutable is not one of them. Excellent. We're back here. I should probably level. Yes, I should level, shouldn't I? Thank you for your help, Pikachu. Alright, what was I doing? Pumping vitality, wasn't I? Oh wow, look at the cost of leveling now. It's not cheap.
Farewell, good hunter.
Thank you. It is shocking how quickly we've got through blood vials. Didn't I get 500 last time? Last time I bought any. Right, where am I going? Lighthouse Hut. Right, well, progress has been made. I don't know what our hair's doing. So did you beat the final boss, Tato? Great One's Wisdom. You're not dead, are you? No, but you're not actually attacking. This could be an awful, awful ambush, mind you. I'm not sure I like the look of this. Boss arena? I don't think I ever seen something that looks so much like a boss arena before. How about no? Or at least not yet. AK the first boss? Roll on them, please. Why would I do that? What a mean thing to do. Oh, come on. I'm gonna die. Just once. I'm dead. Roll on all of them. Beautiful singing. Hugs. I may have to change my, It depends how many of those there are. Are they winter lanterns? If there's many of them, I may have to change my runes around. Hopefully there's not. I wonder, do you think if I roll on one of those... one of those... persons in prayer, that they'll all attack me at once? It'll bring joy. You've got my... You're running off with my blood echoes. Thank you. Ow. More Luigi. Obviously it explodes, causing a chain reaction, exploding the cave and preventing you from going to the boss until New Game Plus. Hello there. That did not go well. I don't think he believed you, fella. I was believing him up to chain reaction, but then preventing you from going to the boss until New Game Plus seemed a tad far. Thank you. I might actually be best off, yeah, letting the frenzy hit me once, then going in for the attack. And I'm dead anyway. Oh, this is a problem. Welcome back, Grumpy Monk. Please roll on the Magnifico, please. It'll bring me great joy. Alright. Since you ask nicely. And Foa seems to be warning me that it's a bomb. Okay. Well, I killed one of them. Is that what you were hoping for, Pikachu? Is your bloodlust sated for another day? More! More, more! Oh, I timed that wrong. Alright, we'll go back in a minute. Well, I'm dead. Or not. Oh. And I'm dead. Sorry, this winter lantern's giving me a lot of trouble. I know I could just swap my runes around so that I have frenzy resistance, but then I may be less well equipped to dealing with other enemies. That's the problem. Is this the DLC? You bet it is, Grumpy Monk. What is that emote? Arrow dead. Oh, is that supposed to be someone lying down? I thought it was like a dead parrot with cheese in its ears or something. I was very confused. Okay, time to satiate Pikachu's bloodlust. Is this music to your ears, Pikachu? Cheese in its ears. I played through the main game and beat it, but we're expecting New Game Plus to be optional. Give me my blood echoes back. There you are. I survived. But goodness me, that was not easy. Accidentally finished the game, Grumpy Monk? Oh, you've got to be joking. Oh, this is the well. This is a shortcut back. I remember that area well. That pun was not intended. I want to play through DLC, but I have to play through the main game again for it. Or really don't like how they force New Game Plus in Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and Bloodborne without any warning. They just throw you into the next round. Not DS2 though. That was a surprise. I was expecting the New Game Plus like the other From Software games, other newer From Software games. But pun intended puns are the best puns. Sorry, pun intentional puns. See yourself out. I'm gonna die. Nope, I'm somehow still alive. For how much longer remains to be seen. Whew, that is not a nice ambush. Where's the other one gone? The one that was calling lightning down on me. They've vanished. A little disconcerting. I know where this is. This is the lower area in the same cave we came from that we didn't reach. Like, we reached the... There was like a particular point where we ran up to a cliff which had a fence around it and we couldn't go any further. This is the lower part that we couldn't reach back then. Oh, is that them? Pretty sure this is another ambush situation. Wait. Why was more lightning being called down on me? Where's that coming from? Dearie me. Well, progress is being made. That's the important thing. Whoa. Sorry, I want to read through chat, but I'm being lightning bolted. There you are. I had no idea you were there. There we go. Where were we? You can access it after Amelia, Grumpy Monk. Who's Amelia? White Dog Lady. Second mandatory boss. Nice description. Wait. Hang on. How do you get to Amelia without having both defeated Cleric Beast and Father Gascoigne. Old Bolt Damp Blood Gem. Blood Rock. Sincerest thanks. Nice description. Amelia Mary Earhart was an American aviation pioneer. On July 2nd, 1937, she disappeared over the Pacific Ocean while attempting to become the first female pilot to circumnavigate the world. Thank you, Foa. Oh yeah, I know her. Not that Amelia. Tato. Amelia is Amelia. Amelia, Badella. Badelia? Badelia. Amelia Badelia. Cleric Beast is completely optional. Are they? Oh, I did not realise this. Blood Rick. Rock. Not Rick. Cleric, you say. My boy Patches would like to have a word with him. I know who Patches is, and I know who the Cleric Beast is, but I'm afraid that joke did not land on my head. Or land in my head, probably. I bet he would. Patches hates clerics in Dark Souls. Oh, I see. He does indeed. Patches has strong opinions about clerics. Right, I guess I'd better... Oh, hang on, there's this area down here I haven't explored yet. Cursed Kinhunter's Damp Blood Gem. Do you think that I'm going to be fighting some kin and I want a Cursed Kinhunter gem? What I was going to say is, we probably want to, since I assume the only thing left for me to do is some sort of horrible boss, shall I pop back to the Hunter's Dream, primarily to restock on my blood gems, but while I'm there I can make sure my equipment's repaired and perhaps rearrange my gems and runes if necessary. Foa said it better. What was I thinking? Repair my equipment. Repair. Oh, no. Repaired. Gems. Right. What do I currently have? A whole lot of... Oh, I do actually... Okay, I can actually upgrade this significantly, it looks like. I mean, it would be rude not to. Look at that damage. Right, physical attack up, plus 19. Ooh! Oh no, wait, that's just thrust. Where's the Kin Hunter one? Okay, that is a phenomenal gem if I'm fighting kin. Not so great if I'm fighting beasts. Okay, back. Welcome back. Oh, WB, welcome back. Bonk. Ooh, boss time? It should be, yeah. Maybe one of them will hit eventually. There are no commands. It was all a lie. Do I not have hello? Okay, definitely need to add hello. Until our next discourse, Tato. Oh, sorry, I'm reading out one that I wrote. See, got one. Alright, let's try the kin hunter gem and hope that what I'm fighting is kin. I mean, it's bound to be, right? Surely it's going to be kin. What else is it going to be? With any luck, this threaded cane will hit like a freight train now. Oh, I could have swapped my runes around, couldn't I? But then again, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. If I don't know what I'm getting myself into, then I don't know which runes I'm gonna need. Did you just make Nightbot say goodbye to itself? Pro taking early leave. You're about to fight a prune. Slacking on job. Boop. A dried plum? Good luck. Isn't this supposed to be the hardest boss in the game? Yes. No rolling? Okay. No rolling first try. Somehow I think not. Somehow I think I'm probably not going to even do this stream. It's probably going to be an hour or two of me making attempts. Oh my goodness. What is that giant organ hanging off this creature? He doesn't sound completely happy. Orphan of Cos. Orphan of Cos? Cos presumably isn't dead, so I can only conclude this is someone that Cos orphaned. Why was he in there? If you wind up in a serious bind, the best place to farm blood gems is the Chalice Dungeons, though those are a challenge in their own right. He's just a cute little baby, Tato. I was just imagining the, oh, it's a little man TikTok sound. Interesting. Not heard of that. The poor wizened child. It uses its placenta as a weapon. Oh, was that a birth we just witnessed? Hello there. Ow. Ow. And I'm down. Well, that wasn't a great start, was it? I barely hurt them at all. Do they count as kin? Because I want to know if I should be changing my gems around. Cute, debatable. Baby, maybe. Little one? Yeah, definitely not. That body on the shore is Cos. Oh! How did Cos die? Didn't Michael Ash think he was speaking to Cos or something? That baby is ready for college. Cos adorable little munchkin. Whatever you do, don't use lightning damage here. You're not the boss of me. Cos died of natural causes. Really? Were they natural? I think they're technically a great one. Does that mean that I don't want the... Okay, I'll change... If they're not kin, I'll change the gems around. Nice. It actually isn't kin as per the wiki. Okay. Shame I don't have a plus 1000% damage versus Great One gem. Wrong one. That's the one, isn't it? Right, do I need increased bolt resistance? Probably not. So what else could I have instead? Extra HP, that's tempting. Or stamina. That might be my best bet. V attacks restore HP plus 300, interesting. I think I'm best off with extra health and stamina, probably. Let's go. I'll be off now. Smoke. Thank you for dropping by, Tato. I do appreciate it. It's unknown how Cos died, but her body... Oh, it's a her! I didn't realise that. Washed up on the shore soon became an obsession of Bergenworth and kick-started the Healing Church's madness. Wait, that's how long ago this was? How did they even get here if it's inside a nightmare? Have an excellent day, Tato. Again? Oh, fight the boss again, with you. You're going to want lightning defense for phase 3. 3 phases, really? Oh well. Ow. My goodness, you're annoying. Wow, that was very Dragon Ball Z-esque. The way they took him to the air and then just like flew down and hit the ground hard. Maybe Cos died because she was pregnant. Maybe she's a member of a species that doesn't survive birth. I mean, that's true of octopuses, for example. Or doesn't survive the pregnancy, rather. Doesn't survive the act of giving birth, I mean. Ow. That was unpleasant. Okay, that's new. You didn't have those before. Oh, this is going to turn into another Lawrence, isn't it? You're going to want... Oh, I read that. Maybe they're reliving it over and over. Reliving what? Sorry, I missed the context. It wasn't originally. The nightmare forces hunters to relive the sins of the past over and over. Not all of them were directly part of those atrocities. This nightmare is meant to be a torturous afterlife for all hunters anyway. Oh, I see what you mean. So I'm not even looking at Kos and a Great One. I'm looking at the memory of Kos and a Great One. So Kos's body must have washed up in real life, by that logic. So I'm not fighting a Great One, but a facsimile of a Great One. Which is probably the only reason I even stand a chance. Alright, lightning defense, you say. Well, that's the best I can get. Actually, can I do better with different armor? Yes, but not like drastically better. Fire gloves, I think, were the best there. Constable's trousers. This is going to be a real mishmash of different clothes, isn't it? White church hat. We have white church hat, black church garb, choir gloves, and constable's trousers. Blimey. So this is what a Great One Hunter looks like. I thought it was male octopi that didn't survive. I don't think the females survive either. They give birth and then they... Do they protect the eggs but then starve to death? I think that's it. I think they lay the eggs and then they protect it until they're ready to hatch and then they just die. I think I could be wrong. I think like after giving birth, well I say giving birth, after laying, I think like internally the instincts that would cause them to eat and hunt for food just turns off and it never turns on again. I thought it was octopuses. I think both exist. I think it comes from Greek, so technically it should be octopodes. But nobody calls them octopodes, and so it ends up being either octopuses, which would be following the English rules for pluralization, or technically wrong, but so many people use it that it's sort of right, if that makes sense, is octopi, because that would assume it's a Latin word, I believe, which it wasn't. But enough people use it that that it is an accepted plural. Curse the fiends, their children too, and their children forever true. Been a while since you've heard that line, but that was sort of said when you entered the DLC the first time. I see. Interestingly, nightmares seem to be born at the same time as great ones. The nightmare of Mensis is intricately linked to Murgo. And the Hunter's nightmare... Oh yeah, because we fought Murgo's wet nurse. And the Hunter's nightmare likely came into being alongside Orphan, since Orphan is the final secret and heart of the nightmare. Henrique's set, I think, is the overall best lightning defense in the game. Oh, you can buy it from the Insight shop. By the way, there's something under the elevator. I believe I've been there. It was a gem for hunting kin, but we established that Orphan is not kin. You can send the elevator back up after using it, so you don't have to use the lever and wait for it to go up each time you die. That's a good idea. Sorry, I'm going back to look at this Henrique set. You looted that already? Ah, okay. Thanks, fella. Yes, this does seem to have better, at least equal, if not better, lightning defense. Which one was Henrique? I seem to remember that was one of the hunters we slew. Goodness me. We look like a highway woman. I wanted to be up there, didn't I? Because that's where the relevant tombstone is. Well, I've got as much bulk protection as I'm going to get. My physical protection is probably worse. Kin are what you get when you try to make an artificial Great One. These include Rom, Ebritas, and the Celestial Emissaries. Great Ones are cosmic beings born of themselves and include Murgo, Orphan, and Kos. That's very interesting. I wonder how you'd even go about making an artificial Great One. Henrique would have been the guy who took over the graveyard after Gascoigne. Really? I swore we slew Henrique. Hunter's hat won by Henrique, the Old Hunter. The taciturn Old Hunter Henrique was once partners with Father Gascoigne, and though they were a fierce and gallant duo, their partnership led to Henrique's tragically long life. I do like that line. Tragically long life. Henrique's unique yellow garb is resistant to bolt and will be of great help to any hunter who inherit the onus of the hunt. Who inherited the onus of the hunt. Come on then, orphan. Ow. The music here seems oddly reverential, doesn't it? Oddly devout. Was it kin blood they were injecting people with, which ultimately turned them into beasts? And undead. Henrique would have been the guy who took over the grit. Oh, read that. You have to kill Henrique to get his set to show up in the shop. Right. You got this. I don't. According to the Healing Church, one goes about making an artificial Great One by experimenting on women and children and letting the old blood run rampant in Yarman. That would make a weird form of sense. The music is beautiful. Oh, hang on. Did I not have the hat on? That was careless of me. There we go. As before, that particular enemy likes to shriek a bit much. Like Lawrence. So I'm adjusting the sound levels to compensate. Old blood is that of the Great Ones. Kin blood is the blood of one who's become kin. Oh, one who becomes kin. So, oh my goodness. So when you make a Great One, you make it out of a person. Their blood is actually white, so I don't know why kin blood as an item is red. Some part of me wants to grab the PS5 at break and play this for a while since I'm on chat today. Do it! Had to be right back. Yeah, Pikachu's not going to advise any sort of restraint when it comes to Bloodborne. You should be aware. I would live in Bloodborne if I could. Would you? I would not. Dark Souls, on the other hand. It reminds me of those questions you see people posting on Twitter, stroke X, where they'll say like, oh, what was the... where they say things like, you have to live the rest of your life in the game that you last played. In how much trouble are you in? Sorry. How much trouble are you in? And you know, I'm playing games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's not gonna go well for me, is it? I suppose the real question is, which game would you want it to be? What's the best outcome for you here? I've never played, but perhaps something like Stardew Valley? If living in video games is an option, I would jump into Secret World, Magic and Functioning on Mortality. I've never played Secret World. Unironically, I would be tempted by Morrowind. That's such a fascinating world that they built, to actually be able to experience it. Plus, if you're able to go through character gen, it's not clear whether you are, or if you just turn up in the game world as you are now. But if you're able to go through character gen, you could pick a pretty long-lived race and artificially lengthen your life with magic. It isn't in any way unrealistic to think you could last 1,000 years. Journey. Stardew would be a good one. I don't think you'd want to live in Journey. That almost sounds like some sort of curse. Some sort of Sisyphean curse. Like, don't get me wrong, it would be fun for the first few weeks. But for the rest of your life? Experience all the racism in Morrowind. True, but I honestly think I would be so awed by everything that I would happily take that as a price. Plus, I'm assuming that if you've just turned up in the game world, you do have freedom to move. Like, you wouldn't have to stay within the Morrowind region. I assume you could explore the rest of the Empire at least. I never want to live in Mario. Breath of the Wild. The thing is, it doesn't follow that you'd just because you've woken up in this game world that you're necessarily a hero with all of a hero's abilities. Like, a lot of these game worlds would really be rubbish if you just woke up as yourself. I would still be tempted by Morrowind, though, even though I know the risks. Like, I would realise that if I actually woke up as I am now in that universe, I would be in trouble. But I would also know a lot about the world to try and avoid a lot of said trouble. I guess I'd probably end up leveling my athletics pretty swiftly. Provided I become an undead myself, first time I perish, Dark Souls actually wouldn't be too bad. Following appears linked to the waning willpower, so you only live as long as you truly want to. Interesting. Scribblenauts. I've never played Scribblenauts, but it sounds like a game where you draw things and they come to life. Oh. Write things instead of drawing. Oh, I see. Ironically, Breath of the Wild has one of the safer Hyrules. The monsters only respawn every X days instead of every time you turn your back. I see. Still requires you to be able to hunt monsters yourself, though. When you said Scribblenauts, which I assume is marketed towards children, I'm not saying exclusively, but it sounds like a game that probably is. It reminded me of a game I played when I was younger called Reader Rabbit, because I was special needs for English for a long time. And it was just a game about teaching you the English language. So you'd go from area to area completing language-based puzzles. Now that would be simultaneously one of the safest places to be, but also probably getting quite tiresome after a while. Having to do, for all eternity, having to do word puzzles designed for children. Not really. Find a town and you can just get a job in Breath of the Wild. Oh, that's not so bad. One of the better ones then, but I wonder how much you'd actually enjoy the world if you were restricted mostly to one town. Then again, with Morrowind, you set one foot out of a town, and you're going to have cliff racers descending on you. Scribblenauts is quite fun. Lots of creative solutions you can find. Interesting. A space travel game would be interesting, like EV Nova, because in theory it could be a very dangerous world, but ultimately you're limited by what your spaceship can do. It's not like you would physically be at great risk because you don't have the body of a hero that can that has the combined abilities of every Olympic athlete there's ever been, and also the recuperative capabilities of a newt. Daggerfall could be an interesting one. dangerous world, but there's also some really interesting things going on which they only sort of hinted at in the game, like in the books and stuff, but never actually fleshed out. You could witness some pretty special things if you could actually live there. Not always good things, mind you, but special. I would not want to live in Dragon's Dogma though. Haven't played the second one yet. But I know what happened to towns in the first, and anyone unlucky enough to become Arisen. Oh dear, this is my life now until I beat this boss. Akami might be an interesting world to live in. God Eater would be rough. The Code Vein section of the GE universe slightly less so because of the boar parasites. Not familiar with those. Oh, GE being God Eater. I'm surprised no one said Pokemon yet. The Pokemon universe. That's a pretty blessed universe to be in, as provided you're human. If you're a Pokemon, on the other hand, absolutely not Pokemon. Has something been revealed in the later versions of the games or television series I'm not aware of? Oh, is it just the horrible way the Pokemon get treated that would that you'd hate? I can appreciate that. They're surprisingly Stockholm Syndrome-y about it, though. Random Pokemon in the wild point of view. Someone sends their attack dog to maul you, almost killing you, captures you, and then use you in cockfights for money. Yeah, that's why I say, as long as you're human, the Pokemon universe is pretty blessed. We're best friends now until I find someone better. Then you get to live in my computer forever, never seeing the sun again. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You got to admit, it is a very strong incentive to become the very best, the best there ever was. Oh, bother. That was close. I hear phase 2. There are a surprising number of Pokemon that are full-on murderers. Hatterena, Paleosand, Frostlass, etc. And they'd be a lot harder to ward off than a bear or some deer. Close. Interesting point. Surprised you're not getting bombarded with lightning. Huh. I was wondering why there was no lightning. I also wish they'd stood still, because if they'd stood still, I'd have probably won that. Yeah. Oh well. Unfortunately, that was probably a fluke, and I'm probably not going to be able to replicate that tonight. What were we talking about? We were talking about how horrible it would be to be within the Pokemon universe. Especially if you're a Pokemon. Are they screaming no over and over again? It does sound a lot like it, doesn't it? Hatterini, in particular, will go out of its way to hunt down and butcher you for thinking too loud near its territory. Better think quiet thoughts, everyone. I also want to be nowhere near Slugma or Macargo. It wouldn't even be trying to melt my skin off, it would just happen. And can you imagine the property damage from, say, a missed hyper beam? I'm sure the insurance companies have had to take this into account in the Pokemon universe. Have you considered how low your electric bill would be if you'd enslaved a Pikachu, though? And a Charmander for the heating? You could probably Flintstones your whole house. Isn't there some Pokemon that is a fridge? That does sound convenient. Possessing a fridge. And that's Rotom. Was Rotom ever introduced in the television series? And if so, that must have been a pretty special moment. I'll tell you which Pokemon would be useful. Ditto. You're only limited by your imagination at that point. Close enough. Pokemon just have a very high mortality rate. That's all I'm saying. Why do you think that only one game protagonist has a dad? Do you mean people in the Pokemon universe have a very high mortality rate? Also, if that's true, why are all the mothers still alive? Someone would totally use a Ditto to commit identity theft. There's a lot of Pokédex entries that talk about deaths, so I just say a high mortality rate in general. Yeah, you're probably right. But everyone's so upbeat. Well, not everyone, almost everyone. It seems so rare that you meet a sad or angry character in Pokemon. Bennett, for instance, is the discarded toy that wants to get revenge on the child who threw it away. Well, that's nightmare fuel. Speaking of someone that actually did have nightmares when they're younger of their toys trying to kill them. Technically, Pokemon is rated E, so they have to limit the really dark stuff to the Pokédex entries and the occasional ghost child. I did not mean to bring up trauma, I apologise. It's fine. That was a long, long time ago. And is honestly not that big of a deal compared to a lot of the stuff I've been dealing with recently. Your mask is a ghost type that was once human. The mask it carries supposedly used to be its face. Spirit Tomb is made up of a bunch of different souls. I think it was 109, but don't quote me on that. The Lavatar line apparently causes regular earthquakes. There's a lot of unhinged stuff in the decks. Have you seen the Cubone? I've forgotten if it was Cubone or Marowak. One or the other. They're Pokedex entries. Obviously, that's the Pokemon that has what at first looks like a external skull. The water is safe, by the way. You can go out 10 plus meters and should be invisible wall there, if I recall correctly. Oh, I did not realise this. Aww. You're getting pretty consistently close. I don't think I was that close on that occasion. Also saying Cubone, Marowak. Yeah, they appear to have like an external skull. But if you actually read the Pokedex entry, they're wearing... I'm not making this up. It says they are wearing the skull of their mother. Which, raises several questions. Frankly, Cubone and Marowak belong in Bloodborne. Cubone, yep, seen that. Oh, has anyone here seen the original Japanese version of the first Pokemon film? Because that has some pretty upsetting stuff in it too, that got removed from the English language release. U2 Strikes Back, that's the one. I've only seen it in Swedish. What I find strange is that despite this dex entry, you don't lose the female Cubone Marowak in the event that you retrieve her and an egg from the daycare. Here we have a prime example of lore and mechanics clashing. That is an excellent point that I had never considered. I've only seen it in English. So, there's a bunch of scenes they deleted. Essentially, I assume no one cares about spoilers. I'll quickly ask, does anyone care about spoilers? Nope. Oh my goodness. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think you need to be greedier. I don't remember the movie either way. Um, well, the basic plot is that a bunch of scientists are ordered by, I think, Giovanni of Team Rocket to create the world's strongest Pokemon. And they do so by getting the DNA of what they thought was extinct Pokemon called Mew, which was supposedly extremely powerful. They got it from a fossil. And then they try to improve upon their Mew's genetics to create an even stronger Pokemon. And then Mewtwo is created, and he goes off on a bit of a rampage in the laboratory where he was born. Giovanni turns up, manipulates him into believing he's a friend, then basically uses Mewtwo to win loads and loads of Pokemon battles, and he's very happy with himself. But Mewtwo sooner or later realises what's up, and then becomes very unhappy again. I won't spoil what happens next in case anyone does want to see the film. But in the Japanese version, I should probably start with the English version. In the English version, it's never really explained why Mewtwo is so unhappy to begin with. Like, why when he was born did he wreck up the laboratory, for example. It's like they just sort of portray him as some sort of loose cannon, I suppose, because they could argue that maybe it's because he's just been born, he's, perhaps doesn't understand what he's doing, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like he actually had a human level intellect and knew quite a lot about the world from birth. So that doesn't quite figure. In the Japanese language version, they actually explain it all. It turns out that the lead scientist on the Mewtwo project was trying, his passion was trying to clone his deceased daughter, and specifically in such a way that her soul re-enters her the clone's body, and so he actually gets his daughter back. And he's basically doing all this work with the Mewtwo project because it's the only way that he can see that he can get his daughter back. Essentially, he's doing it for his daughter, but then his employer's position is, look, we want you to make Mewtwo, but if the only way we can persuade you to do it is for you to use our laboratory equipment to do basically a very similar thing with your daughter, then fine. Like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Anyway, the problem is this cloning process that they've come up with has problems. It does seem to be able to... They seem to succeed at least in getting his daughter's soul into the clone's body, but the problem is all the clones, both her technically Mewtwo's, but especially the other Pokemon as well, because they have multiple Pokemon they were trying to clone as they were developing this technique. They all seem to be extremely fragile, and they die before they're born, before they can come out. They don't survive outside of the cloning tubes that they're put in. Mewtwo, in fact, is the only one that was strong enough to survive the procedure. Anyway, to make matters worse, it turns out, I've forgotten if this was due to Mewtwo specifically or if it was some other side effect of the cloning process. It turns out that all of these clones they're working on are telepathically linked, and they're talking to each other. I'm not sure the scientists are aware of this, but they've all become friends. And the whole Mewtwo going mad and so on at the beginning of the film is because I've forgotten the exact circumstances, but I seem to remember the daughter and the other Pokemon that Mewtwo had made friends with all die. Because, again, they're too fragile. He's the only one that survives the actual cloning procedure, and these are the only people he's ever known. They were his friends, and he just loses it. Anyway, so there you go. That's a particularly dark tale in Pokemon that just got completely cut from the international releases of the film. I actively want the spoilers. Mewtwo says in the movie at some point that he believes originals and clones deserve the same rights. Yeah, that's towards the end of the film, isn't it? I've no idea why they've cut that from the movie. It's not that much darker than what's in the game. It's not that much darker than what's in the game, but you've got to remember this was a film that was being marketed as a children's film, and a lot of, obviously, parents would have been taking their children to see the film. I don't think that... I think their concerns were that the parents perhaps weren't aware of the darker side of Pokemon, and perhaps wouldn't have been happy if they'd left that in the film. But it's a typical example of the sort of thing that it's considered perfectly normal in Japan for Japanese children to be exposed to. You know, like dark topics like that, but in certainly English-speaking parts of the world, and I presume many others, that's not considered the sort of thing you would show to children. I'm not making any judgments about who's right or wrong on the matter. Actually, to be honest, I think I tend to take the view that children are usually a lot more capable of processing those things than they're given credit for these days. Look at Grimm's fairy tales, for example. Those were stories specifically for children, and the reason they don't, you don't usually see unedited versions of those fairy tales being marketed towards children these days is because nowadays attitudes have changed, but still. That's the situation, as I see it. Me who grew up on Labyrinth and Gremlins and anime. But which anime? I mean, to be clear, I'm not saying show anything to any child no matter what. I actually think it depends more upon the person, how well they're going to take something like that, than it does upon whether they're a child or an adult. I think there are genuinely adults that would find what I've just described extremely upsetting and find it hard to deal with, just like there would be children that would. But I also think there's a lot of children, just like that there are adults, that would have no difficulty dealing with that sort of thing. Just my opinion, though. Children these days are treated by media like they don't have brains. I know. Ooh. Inuyasha, Naruto, XXX Holic, to name a few. I've heard of Naruto, the others I'm not familiar with. I've got to admit, the last one sounds interesting. From what I see sometimes, media is right. I think to a large extent it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, though. People will point to children behaving childish and then say, well, look, they're children, that's how children behave, that's why we treat them this way. But I genuinely believe that if you treated most adults like children, they would behave like children. Genuinely. I think a lot of what people see as growing up isn't because they've got older, it's because people have started treating them differently. And I would back that up with historic examples that the Victorians basically invented childhood. Obviously, people physically matured before then. That's patently obvious. But historically, children were just treated like little adults. Okay, yeah, sure. When they're very young, there's a lot less they can do on their own, unsupervised. But generally speaking, they were treated like normal human beings. They weren't infantilized in the way they are today. And that worked just well for thousands of years. I say thousands of years, probably hundreds of thousands of years at least. Oh, our first lightning. I look at, for example, the way people misbehaved at school around teachers, and then I look at the way the teachers were treating them, and I think, yeah, absolutely, adults would behave that way if another adult tried to treat them that way today. Like, it's not because they're children, it's because of the teacher's bad behaviour. But they don't think of it as bad behaviour. They think that's how you treat children. It is bad. Obviously it depends on the person, but the resulting stories end up soulless abominations. What do you mean by the resulting stories? You mean when they try to censor stories to make them more appropriate for children? Oh, I'm out of blood vials. We're going to have to do a few farming runs, which is fine. Shouldn't take long. Inuyasha is a romance adventure anime about a girl who goes back in time via magic, by a magic well, and is tasked with restoring and protecting a magic jewel that, if I recall correctly, she broke. XXX Holic is about a boy who sees ghosts and does not want to see ghosts, who finds a wish-granting shop. A wish-granting shop? Interesting. You know, I've thought on a number of occasions, obviously this is complete fantasy, but if I ever actually found myself in the position where I was realistically offered wishes, like in a genie type situation, would I even have the courage to make a wish? And I feel like the answer is no. I would be sufficiently concerned that I'm going to get monkey's pawed that I'm not sure anything could actually persuade me to even risk a wish. Yeah. When you sanitize and censor a story, it often ends up destroying the soul of the tale, especially if the tale was intended to warn and raise awareness about a sensitive topic. Yep, I think you're right. Maybe not always, but very often. Another pig down. It's probably going to be faster for me to just go back from here and farm just those pigs a few more times. As in, I think I get so many more blood echoes from the pigs than anything else in the area. I think clearing the other few enemies up ahead is probably a waste of my time. Runes for souls, souls via visceral. Thank you, I forgot about that. One of the major themes of XXholic is the price of desire. The main character in XXholic, for example, XXXholic, for example, ends up working at the wish-granting shop part-time because that's the price of protecting him from most his boss's mildly evil, hostile spirits. Interesting. So I had bolt protection and communion. Okay. That should do the trick. One of my favourite animes, to be honest. Would recommend to anyone interested. Interesting. I'll bear that in mind. I haven't really watched much of anything since those events I talked about earlier. I just really haven't felt the desire to watch something on my own. I do watch films and things with my parents, but that's it. I've stopped watching TV series on my own. But if I were to do so, I would be very tempted by that recommendation. I do watch anime nowadays, or series in general. I did watch the Cyberpunk anime series this weekend though. It was quite good. Oh my goodness, that's embarrassing. Fair enough, sending more virtual hugs. Thank you. I suppose, again, since this is Men's Mental Health Month, maybe I should expand upon that slightly for the to help aid understanding. After the events I've talked about, I ended up extremely depressed, and all my hobbies fell away, and I stopped watching things. Like I used to watch things regularly in the evenings. But I then also started watching television with my parents, and the reason I did that was because I couldn't bear being alone with my thoughts in the evening. I mean, to an extent I had to put up with it during the day, but it just got to the point where I just couldn't bear being alone with my own thoughts. Which is, yeah, it's quite the place to find yourself in. And so just being around other people I still trusted, well, it was a way just to distract myself from the worst of it. I still felt extremely depressed, and I would still be thinking about the things that depressed me when I was watching stuff with them, but at least it was better than being on my own in my room. But then that turned into a routine, so now it's just something that I do, that I watch television with my parents most evenings. And so I also effectively have less time to watch stuff on my own, even though I still... Ow! Even though I don't have much desire to do so. Still. I think the last thing I watched, maybe not the very last thing, but like one of the very last things I watched... actually, no, No, this isn't going to date things very much because I wouldn't have been watching... No, I won't say just in case. No, I will say, I think I can... I don't think it would give much away. One of the last things I watched was the television series The Boys, which is obviously a series about superheroes, which was okay. It was entertaining enough. It was no masterwork or anything. But I know, for example, that there has been more of that released since. But I still don't really feel like going back and just watching it. Again, it's the, like, anhedonia. I just don't... Even though part of me is still sort of a little curious with where they'd go with the story, I just don't like the thought of just sitting down and watching a series on my own at the moment still. Anyway, I think that's been suitably elaborated upon. Death by Bird Dog, I know. If you want to talk about it, you don't have to. It's not that I don't want to, it's just I don't want to bore you with, you know, my problems when you're probably not interested. But... Oops. Ah, that went well. But you never know. It's unlikely, but it's possible that someone will hear this at some point and it'll be useful to them. I get that. There's times that I can't stand to be alone with my thoughts. I'm sorry to hear that. It is not a nice place to be. It really isn't. Anyone here watching you has enough empathy to know that your life is yours alone. We're here for you. That's not dependent upon explanation. Oh my goodness. Sorry. That's fine, Avon. I don't mind sharing things about my life in general. I'm very open and honest. It's more just a general not really knowing what's oversharing and what isn't. Again, that goes back to the autism. Not really knowing what's expected of me, and then balancing that against genuinely wanting to help people. And one of the ways that I can help people is talking about certain things, like autism, like my experience with mental health, potentially that could be very helpful to some people. It's very difficult to navigate, I find. That thing bored right through you. It certainly did. I often wondered why I get the chance to perform a visceral after an attack that should have killed them. And I guess it is because there's a rune in the game that gives you extra souls for a visceral kill. Which you'd otherwise lose the opportunity to perform. Expectations are the worst, especially the quiet ones. Yeah, when expectations aren't communicated, they just assume you understand because everyone understands. And then when you don't meet those expectations, they get upset with you. And assume it was deliberate and malicious. There we go. We did well for Blood Echoes. Like, how is anyone supposed to just know what another expects of them without conversation? Telepathy? It's unspoken social rules mostly. You know, that people build up models in their head of how they think social interaction should work, and for most people those models are the same or very similar, and it sort of works. But it doesn't work when you have an individual that's incapable of picking up on social cues or finds it very difficult. Someone that doesn't understand the nuances of how you would treat different people under certain circumstances because it doesn't come naturally to them. For example. And who tries to mimic the behaviour they see around them because it's the most reliable way they know to seem normal, which is what they have to do just to be treated like a human being, and yet they still get it wrong. Do I sound bitter at all? Fair. Still holding on to the telepathy theory though. Really seems like it sometimes. Yep. I know what you mean. Incidentally, general advice to people out there. If you want to be more supportive of autistic people in the world, well, A, make sure you communicate more directly if you can. But B, most importantly, if someone does something that you think is really bad, wrong even, terrible even, at least give them a chance to explain. Don't just assume malicious intent. At least give them that opportunity to explain their perspective and why they acted the way they did. Because there's a very good chance you'll be surprised, and that they weren't malicious in the way that you thought they were. And also, you don't know who is and isn't autistic. They may not know whether they're autistic or not. I've been autistic my whole life, but I was only diagnosed this year. That's probably the number one thing you can do. Give people a chance to at least put their perspective forward. To be able to defend themselves before you vilify them, before you demonize them. I get it. I don't know if I'm on the same boat as you. Haven't gotten a mental diagnosis once in my life, though. I probably should. But I don't get social cues very often unless I'm the one setting the rules. Even then, I'm pretty direct with them. Yeah, I mean, there's a fair probability you could be autistic. Autism, I believe, is technically classified as a developmental disorder as opposed to a mental one. But I know what you mean. If you're interested, I could send you some stuff. So it's just some basic, some stuff online that you could use to investigate. You know, just read through it, see if it sounds like you or not. I'm not saying you are or you aren't. I'm just saying, you know, if you're curious, that would probably be the first step. And I can point you in that direction, should you so choose. Oh dear. I'll probably call it there tonight. I hope you don't mind. I'll be streaming this week. Streaming in this week's a bit up in the air. I've said that I want to go back to 3 days a week, at least for a little while. Because I just wasn't getting anything else done besides streaming. Between depression and the streaming, that was basically my life. And there are other things that I really should get on with. Notionally, I was going to go for Monday, Friday, Saturday, like I used to do. But I'm still waiting to hear back from somebody to know what's going to be going on towards the end of the week. What I might do then, I'm thinking I probably want to do Talos Principle on Yeah, I probably want to do Talos Principle on Saturday. That would make Friday Dark Souls 2, if that's when I did it. There's a slim possibility I might do Wednesday. Like do Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, or something like that. I'll keep you posted. I'd hoped by now I would know, but I'm not so sure. I've already looked into some of that stuff. The issue is just getting a diagnosis under the US healthcare system as an adult who was once an honours student. Does that make things harder? Alright, have an excellent day. Thank you for your streaming. Have a restful evening. Thank you. Who should we raid? I think we'll raid, was it Branman? Who's currently doing Elden Ring Night Rain. So we'll raid them, I think. Thank you for joining me, everyone. I really do appreciate it. Thank you to everyone that kept me company in chat, and thank you to everyone that looked. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you all have a wonderful night.